And of course, there's a bowl game coming up against Oklahoma. We hope, because of the 2020 was the COVID regular season, and hopefully this is not becoming the COVID bowl season here in 2021. The other thing that strikes me about Dan Lanning is it's difficult for these coaches. Now, they're paid a ton of money to either continue a good thing in this case or take over a disaster and rebuild it. And they get dropped out, on campus, and they don't know what's going on, especially coming from, although he did coach at Arizona State here fairly recently. He comes from Georgia in the SEC, and suddenly he's got to build relationships. He's got to reach out to recruits that he's never talked to. And he seems to have made, retained a few recruits, reached out to some other ones, and he looks like he's off to a decent start there.
Yeah. His first big get was he retained Don Johnson, who is the local recruiting expert on staff that was a part of Mario's staff. He was not hired that long ago. He hasn't been there that long, but he's got real deep roots in the Northwest and has really good connections with students. So he stayed. That was the first hire, and that's probably encouraged pretty highly by the university to do that. And then we had a player named Seven McGee, who's from New York, a running back, who basically said, I'm going to the transfer portal. An hour and a half later says, hey, I talked to the coach, I'm back. So this thing is just wild. Going back to your previous question about how long people are expecting this coach to last, there was a real conversation out here. And actually on Twitter, it was pretty interesting. There was these Twitter spaces opened up, and they had these guys running this Twitter space for like 6 days straight. 2,000 people all jumping in, parents, media guys. Our athletic director jumped in to explain the hire afterward. I mean, it was a crazy situation. And in that, there was a lot of conversation around kind of the two camps. And there was one camp that wanted stability, wanted a coach that was a long-term coach, that you didn't have to go through this coaching circle every 3, 4, 5 years or whatever. Then there was the other camp that said, hey, we want to win now. It doesn't matter. Bring us the best coach. If he leaves to go to another better job, fine, as long as he brings us a championship. Well, I don't think there's a coach out there that's going to guarantee you a championship outside of maybe Nick Saban. And so the ideology of having a coach that was a long-term candidate was really important to a lot of us, especially us, older Duck fans, plus 40, let's call it. And so this is a guy, I feel like, who, if you give him a little bit of a window, maybe it's a 4 or 5 year window, like I was saying, at least he's going to be here and has that consistency and at least support from the university. I would hate to see this guy come in year one, struggle a little bit, and have the fan base completely turn on him and try to force these coaches out to bring somebody else. I don't think there's an automatic fix. I think you need to build from within like we've done in the past. And I think this is a really good fit. I think you get the best defensive coordinator in the SEC this year, basically, who's the youngest up-and-coming coach. If Oregon doesn't pick him up as a coach, next year he'll get picked up by somebody else as a coach. And if you can maybe have a young guy who does not maybe have roots out here, be able to get out here and build roots, maybe he doesn't want to leave. Maybe he does stay loyal to the program. And even with success, maybe doesn't go anywhere else. The big thing was in this Twitter Spaces deal, his brother jumps in, and his brother is talking about how they're from Kansas. He's like, you don't have to worry about the dream job, people. There's no dream job out here. He's not going to Kansas. But it was amazing to see how the fan base came together, the alumni, the former players, current players, media people, all came, parents, moms, dads, speaking on all of this stuff and what they wanted out of a new head coach. And then here comes the news. And then here comes the athletic director to basically say, thanks for the support, and here's what you get. And then he starts taking questions from the audience. I mean, it was a fascinating situation. And I think really the social media movement going forward, I think is going to have a lot to say in a lot of these fan bases having a little bit more of a voice in shaping the future of their programs.